Here's my setup for a solo playthrough of Polis Fight for the Hegemony. Just taking a closer look at the initial starting dispositions of the forces in the lower Mediterranean. You can see that Athens have a slight advantage with 3 galleys in the sea, and Sparta have 2, so a slight naval advantage to the Athenians. On land, the Athenians also have 5 hoplites as opposed to Sparta's 3. The battles on land are characterized by the fact that Sparta always attacks first, and on the sea Athens starts first. So quite crucial when planning your strategy and tactics for the game. In this solo run through, I'm going to try and have the Athenians dominate the sea passages, trade routes, and see if I can impact Sparta that way. The one playthrough face to face we've had, Sparta won quite comprehensively. Just taking a look at the starting resources, they're pretty much the same on both sides, except that Sparta has 4 silver and 0 wheat, whereas Athens has 0 silver and 4 wheat. And Athens has the greater difficulty in feeding its population, given that it doesn't have a greater access to wheat through the collection process. So I'm looking forward to exploring the strategies of this great game further. I've turned over the first 3 projectiles, and they are Protagoras, a philosopher, a temple of Zeus, and a theatre. So 2 there that are useful for the Athenians and 1 for the Spartans. And I've turned over the first event card, and that entails both sides losing 1 unit and gaining 1 prestige. So pretty even honours there. So without further ado, I'll be back shortly with a situation report after the end of the first round. So this is the situation at the end of round 3, and Athens have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 poli, and Sparta have 7 poli. They made some significant gains after Athens passed at the end of the 7th turn. They went on to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turns following that, because they had the resources to do so, and they managed to clean up quite strongly. So it was quite even until Athens passed. In terms of prestige points, Athens have 8 prestige points and Sparta have 4, and Athens' prestige points came primarily from the megalopolis stage, and no projects were built this turn. On the map, Sparta has expanded into Macedonia and Arcania, and Athens have built up a strong fleet of galleys, yet to move on the offensive though. So that's the end of round 3. A very intriguing round, and I'll be back shortly with the end of round 4. It's the end of round 4, and what a very interesting round this one was. Both Athens and Sparta are on 3 prestige, and in terms of poli, Athens have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 poli, and Sparta have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 poli. And resource-wise, both nations are on extremely low resources. And on the map itself, everyone's pretty much spread out, with equal honours in terms of numbers up in Macedonia, Sparta holding Arcania, and and Athens through the central area here. This project-wise, one project was built this turn, and that was by Athens, and that was a theatre with a prestige value of 3, which with the event that was drawn this turn, which was the, sorry that's not focusing, the Age of Pericles, and this event allowed Athens to finish a project this round, and if they did, it got double the prestige normally awarded. So with the theatre expansion, it was normally 3, but it got doubled to 6, and that turned out to be a total lifesaver for Athens, because Athens had absolutely no wheat bar 1 when it came to the supply phase, but because of that event card, Athens was able to feed most of its population, bar 1 Poli, which was returned, that was Pydna, through the use of prestige. So very interesting round. That event card gave Sparta 2 hoplites in sorry, where is it now? In Megaris here, which were later used to attempt sieges in Arcadia, which failed. So, a very, very interesting round. Athens was virtually on the brink of surrender through starvation, but that, as I said, project combined with that event card saved it. And we're back to a relatively even playing field at the moment. So that's the end of round 4. Back soon, probably tomorrow, with round 5A. This is the situation at the end of round 5A, and on the left, Athens are on a meagre 2 prestige points, and on the right, Sparta are on a pretty low 5 as well. And in terms of Poli, the Athenians have on the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and on the right the Spartans have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Poli. So close in that area, but the Spartans have much more population overall. No projects were purchased this turn, and no battles occurred. Both sides were conservative, and there was no event for this turn as well. Taking a look at the map itself, still that Athenian dominance in the centre and slightly up towards Macedonia. Otherwise, Sparta have spread their wings a little bit. So how's the game going? It's really a fascinating exercise in managing multiple resources and balancing getting your resources with your prestige, and it's very tricky. And as a novice, you can see that I'm not doing that well, given I've only got a number of prestige points on either side. So at this stage, certainly I think Sparta have the upper hand, and we'll be heading into round 5B very shortly. Okay, I've finished this solo game. It's the end of round 5B, and it's been a commanding victory to Sparta. They ended up with 13 population, 15 prestige, for a total of 28 victory points at the end. Athens managed 8 population, 1 project for prosperity victory point, and 2 prestige for a total of 11. So 28 to 11. So comprehensive victory to Sparta in the Mediterranean. So my solo game here was characterized by not too many battles. They occurred, the ones that did occurred in the last round or so, when Athens caught Sparta down to 3 hoplites and decided they were in such a terrible state they had to make a gallant attempt to gain some momentum in this strategic maneuver for the peninsula. So they brought in 5 hoplites into Lacedaemon. Unfortunately, the battles that ensued didn't go well despite the early numerical superiority. Sparta are very strong on land, and as a result, Sparta actually collected quite a few prestige points from those battles and destroyed the Athenian hoplites. So that land venture wasn't too good for Athens, but at that point we had to try something because we were in a difficult position throughout. I built an extra galley here early in the game to build up the Athenian navy, but I think I made a mistake not using it to blockade some of these trade routes here. They really just sat there doing nothing. So I'll look at that in my next game to see if we can use the Athenians at sea to make some inroads. Otherwise, the game was a terrific game solo. Plays very well solo, surprisingly. And I'm going to cover some solo points in a review I'm going to do of this game. I don't do very many reviews, but this is such a good game, I think it deserves one. So that's my solo game of Polis Fight for the Hegemony. Very strong win to Sparta.